This is the laser tutorial number 3 movie where I'm going to begin immediately with the next series of things that you have to do. The write-on layer, that is the word Brian, is where I need to gather my dots from. So I'm going to be doing this a lot through this movie, which means I want you to see as well as you can into the word Brian, but I'm going to be doing that a lot so that I can show a lot of the timeline. And I just clicked the E key for the write-on layer so I could actually show or get to the position keyframes. Now I want to paste those position keyframes. I want to copy them and paste them on a new write-on layer in exactly the same point that these are in. So I'm going to hit the K key to go right to where they are, and make sure that if you're going to paste a write-on layer into something like a beam or a particle layer, that you don't include any of the I-beams on your drag, that you only include the keyframes that you need. So I'm going to hit Command C. I'm sure I did not do anything wrong there. And I'm going to click the Home key. Remember, when you add a new solid, you click the Home key. I'm going to hit Command Y, and I'm going to call this my beam layer. And I'm going to hit the Return key. I'm now going to go advance myself back to, by hitting the K key or the keyframe navigator to go to the next keyframe right there. I'm going to make the beam layer have a beam effect. So I'm going to go to Generate Beam right here. Now the beam defaults to a 25% length. Look up here in the Effect Controls window. I'm going to give it a 100% length. Now I need to get to the, and I want you to see how that right there, how the position keyframes for the write-on layer are going to line directly up to the new position keyframes for the beam. So let's talk about it. Let's hit the E key, and this is where I'm telling you I might have to make things smaller and bigger as I go, because I would like to shrink this so you can keep your eye on the fact that the brush position keyframes are visible. Now, again, you know X and Y is the nature of vector points. So I have a starting point, as you can see, for beam here, and an ending point. Well, starting point is simply where I want the beam to start. The ending point, like a pencil, is the lead. So I'm going to click the stopwatch for the ending point, and I'm going to click Command V to paste. Now these line up and are in the exact same position as the write-on layer. So watch, the beam and the write-on layer are in sync. All right, and that's what you need. Now I'm going to make this a little bit more like this. You don't need to see down here. You don't need to see the write-on layer anymore because you know it lines up. So let's go like this. But I have to shrink this down a little bit because I want you to see the starting point. I'm going to go to the beginning keyframe. So I move this manually and hit the K key. And I'm going to grab, now I forget which one it is. Let me see. Okay. I'm going to grab the bottom one there, which is exactly where it is. And I'm going to grab this point, which is the starting point. And I'm going to place it way high up here on this side. Now I'm going to take the starting thickness and make it around 100. I'm going to take the ending thickness down here, look, and I'm going to make it 4 or so. So it's really, really small. It's going to look more like a laser beam coming from the heavens now, and that's I like that. In fact, I'll even make the starting thickness a little bigger, around 130. You can make yours any size, I don't care. And the color I'm going to make more of a purple. So I'm going to go to the outside color, and I'm going to click down here so it's more of a purple color right there. And I'm going to have a nice blue purple feel to this. Okay. The reason why I wanted you to see why I shrunk this comp window up here is because I want to line this up directly with the first keyframe or so, and click a stopwatch for starting point. I'm now going to go to the end of the word Brian. Now I have a dot, but I'm not doing anything with it yet. And I'm going to click this over, and I'm going to line up right here, and now I'm going to move the starting point to the right by clicking and holding the Shift key and move it over to the right. So now I have an animation set up for the starting point of the beam and the ending point of the beam. It just makes it more fun. Okay? Hit Command S to save the file. We now continue with the lens flare, and the lens flare should be the highest thing. I want to save the particles for last, so let's just get the lens flare done. All right, I'm going to leave this compressed just like you see, but I'm going to go make sure I still have these keyframes copied. So I'm going to move this to the front. I'm going to line this up, and I'm going to go Command C. Make sure you only grab, as I said before, marquee a box just to touch those keyframes. Command C. Now I'm going to close the beam so we can see where the beam is. Hit the home key and Command Y, and let's go lens flare. Now I didn't have to change the mode of the beam layer to add, because you can see it's right there, but I'm going to probably have to change the mode of the lens flare. And I'm going to try to explain a couple of things to you as I go, so try to pay attention as to what I'm doing, okay? Let's go to the E key and go to Effect, Generate Lens Flare. Now that I've added my lens flare to my lens flare layer, I'm going to hit the E key so I can get to this point in time. I'm actually going to go to the exact space. Look at what I'm doing here. I'm going to go up so you can see the exact space and time that my beam and my right-on layer start, and then look for the X and Y coordinates for the lens flare, which is flare center. Click a stopwatch and hit Command V to paste. Now the lens flare follows the exact thing. Now I don't want it to be brightness, so let me put that down. I don't want the brightness at 100% yet. I'm going to put the brightness at 20 just to make it smaller. Okay, like maybe 30 to start. Or what do I say? I think I said 40. No, I think I'm going to go back to 30 because I don't want that extra illumination there. In doing so, I'm going to change the mode to add so we can see through everything. And now if I click away from this, you can see that that indeed has a lens flare that works its way around. Now, I want to explain something kind of quickly. I'm going to have to add a lens flare and a beam to the little dot, but I'll do that later if I do it at all on this file. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to explain something to you. Let's do the particles. Let me get as close as I can to this and do the particles. Let's just not ram this, but just hand render this so you can see this coming through. Everything lines up beautifully, and everything lines up in the timeline beautifully, which is why everything lines up here beautifully. Last solid for the word Brian. Let me go to fit up to 100% so we can see this. Now, let's click to the home key. I already got the items copied. All right, I already got the keyframes copied. So I'm going to leave everything open until I have to close something. Command Y. Let's call it particles. Now you may have to watch this a couple of times because particles can be slightly confusing. Okay, just watch it a couple of times and you'll get it, because there's about 4 things you have to change on the particles. And then while we're doing the particles and the lens flare, I want you to kind of watch how I'm going to animate these, and then we can talk about it when I have it on screen. Let's go to the particles and go to Effect, Simulation, Particle Playground. Now Particle Playground is very in-depth. First of all, it pastes the particles right in front in the center. And the particles are just shooting up in the air. They don't know what they're supposed to do, see? So we have to tell the particles, if you imagine a circle, we're going to tell the particles, watch my arrow, to shoot out to about 35%. Even 30, I'm sorry, not percent, degrees. To shoot out to between 30 and 35 degrees this way, if 0 is straight up. 360 is around a full circle, right? Okay. Now as they shoot straight up, the particles have a random spread from each degree that they can go around a circle. So I'm also going to spread them out about 40, between 30 and 40 on the random spread. So let's go to the E key. Open up Particle Playground. Now Canon, of all of these, Canon is the one we're going to play with. So I'm going to open up Canon. That is a lot of things to make sure that you are keeping your mind on. But in Particle Playground, we're only going to worry about Canon. Look, there's Canon. We're going to worry about position, direction random spread, direction, and particles per second. So let's go make sure I'm lining up directly on the exact particles that I need, the exact particles, the exact keyframe to begin, right there. Let's click up here and find the X and Y coordinate. Click. So I click the stopwatch, I'm lining up perfectly, Command V to paste. Now the particles follow everything. Now the particles shouldn't be the high thing, they should be one above the wording. But I'm not, to keep this so you can see everything on screen, I'm going to move them down when I need to. Now, I don't know what color the particles should be. If I'm, they probably should be, if a hot lens flare in purple hits this, you can have the particles in blue or the particles in a purple color or whatever. I'm going to shoot out the particles in a purple color, all right, just so it kind of looks cool. So I'm going to click the color, and I'm going to click the color over to a purple, and if I don't like it, I'll change it. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking now, which is dangerous for me. Maybe I'll switch it to a yellow so it makes somewhat of some sense here, just to have it cool. Maybe they won't look good. I'll leave it as this so they show up well on screen. The radius, the particle radius is 2. I'm going to make mine 1.6. Does that sound familiar? It's exactly what I wanted the particles to be on the right-on layer. Now, the direction is straight up. Do you see the 0 degrees? I'm going to make that be 30 degrees. So they shoot off in 30 degrees. So now let's start over. Look at how the particles are coming out at 60 particles per second, which is too much. Actually, let's go. It's not too much. Actually, that's not bad as they're running through and the particles are shooting off. But watch what I'm going to do. We're going to animate this all the way to the beginning. Now, there's a couple of things that I don't want you to see. First of all, I need to set a keyframe for particles from 0 particles right at the beginning and have them go up to 60, except I don't want them up at 60. I want an explosion of particles at the beginning and a bigger explosion at the end. But I'm going to turn the eyeball off of particles, and I'm going to set the lens flare to start my animation. So I'm going to go to the beginning on lens flare. Do you remember how I set the brightness to 30? Well, I'm going to hit the plus key so I get this a little bit bigger in the timeline so we can view inside of it. And I'm going to click a stopwatch on here, right lining up with the very first keyframe for the lens flare. I'm going to move it back just a tiny bit, and I'm going to click it again. I'm going to click the 30 and make it 0. So the lens flare actually goes from 0 to 30, which I'm going to make very bright. So let's now look at, I'm moving it by the keyframe navigator, and I'm going to click it and make it about 100 and see how bright that is. Now that's not too bright, and I probably should go to about 120. Now I want an explosion at first, so I'm going to go to 120, and then as it's writing, I'm going to go move it up a little bit. Don't care how many seconds, 1 or 2 seconds is fine, and I'm going to make it 60. Now, it's going to maintain a 60. Oh, that's too much. I'm sorry. I was thinking of particles per second, silly man. And I'm going to double click it and make it 30. Okay. 30 is enough to have it be bright enough all the way through the lettering till the end. So we get very close to the end, and I'm going to click the add or remove thing so that I paste another, I clicked the wrong one. So I paste another brightness one right here towards the end. Now I'm going to have it go right at the end when there's supposed to be this large explosion right here. Now I'm going to make it very bright, somewhere around 200. So I flash the whole screen. Okay. Now right after that, I'm going to go down and I'm going to make it 0. So let's just see what I've got. It starts out going like this and flashing. Then it goes down to 30 through the whole thing, and then I set keyframes at 30, 200, and 0 so it goes away. Now I have to make also the beam go away. I mean, why should the beam just hang around there? The beam is just like, why is the beam staying there when it's done its deed? Okay, so watch what I do. I'm going to move this down a little bit so you can see the top of my thing here. And I'm going to go to the starting point of the beam. I'm sorry, the ending point of the beam. And I'm actually going to move the ending point of the beam off the screen. So watch this. I move it off the screen. So oops, I moved the wrong thing. I want to click the ending point here so that I grab the crosshair for the ending point and move it off the screen. So as it's done, watch the explosion. It goes boom, and now it goes off the screen. Now if I reverse that thought process, why should the beam just hang around there? It's not doing anything. So here it should actually start. So let me go move it just a little bit in front here, and let me take the ending point and move it up or over this way. So now look how the beam comes in from the side, starts writing on the end point all the way through, and as the flash for the lens flare happens, the beam goes away. So it doesn't that, I mean, that animation makes more sense. Okay? And there's a lot to do here, so let me hit Command S to save the file. Now we go back to the particles. So I'm going to turn the particles on. Now, this is going to be a little bit involved, so I'm going to try to do it as efficiently as possible so this movie isn't an hour long. I'm going to go to the beginning of the file. I'm going to open up Canon, and I'm going to go to the beginning of where this is. And I want you to think, I'm going to turn off the lens flare for the moment so I can at least gather my brain about me. And I'm turning off the beam as well. When I start out on this, I actually want a lot of particles. But I really, when I start out at this 2-second mark, I want a lot of particles. But right before this, and I'm going to hit the plus sign so you can see, right before this, I want 0 particles per second. So if I go click a stopwatch for particles per second, and I put them right there, I'll change that in a second, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to put in 60 particles per second about right there. So let's go hit the add drop one to put it right. That's at the 2-second, almost the 3-second mark. So let me move that down. Let me hit the minus key so we can get a better orientation. Right at the beginning, I want to have the particles explode. Okay? So 2 things have to happen. I'm going to make the particles now jump up to 2,000 particles. Actually, I should go like 3,000 particles. Watch how now I have an abundant amount of Watch how I have an abundant amount of particles here. Now let's talk about what a full circle is. You know that through this whole thing, I'm going from right now, look at how there's, I'm going to double click this and make no particles. Actually, I didn't do that. I'm going to do it now. Now I'm going from 0 particles where I'm pointing to 2,000 particles where I'm pointing over here down to 60. And then I'll stay at 60 for the whole file and reverse the process at the end. Okay? But now how do you make it go to a full circle? The answer is this. I'll line up exactly to the 0 mark, and I will take the direction random spread, which was at 20, and I'm going to click a stopwatch, and I'm going to click it at 0. So now we have a 0. I'm going to align it where the 2000 is, right here. Do you see that? And I'm going to put the direction random spread to a full circle, which is what? Which is 360 degrees. Now I have them exploding out at 360 degrees. Now I'm going to move it down where the other one was, here where the particles become 60, and I'm going to put the direction random spread back, or put it at 20. I said 30 to you when I was talking earlier, so now let us just play this for a second so you see what I've done. Look at how the particles open up with a nice explosion. Now can we just talk about what just happened? All right. The particles went from nothing. They went to open up at 0 degrees on a full circle on the direction random spread, and 0 particles as the number of particles. They went to a full circle here at 360 when it got to be 2,000 particles. Do you follow? Now let's go down to about a second later, and they're going back to a 30-degree spread, so they're normally just shooting out, okay, and a 60 on the number of particles. Now let's go to the end of the file, move it to the end, and let's reverse the process. Let's go near the end of the file when it's almost already writing. We're right about here. Let's click the add and drop one for particles and direction random spread. So I have this one at the number of, this one here is 30. The number of particles is 60. So you can guess what I'm going to do right at the end. The number of particles I'm going to put at 3,000. Don't go 15,000. You'll make it like blow up or quit or whatever. Direction random spread is going to go back from 30 to what? 360 degrees. Now, right 1 frame or 2 frames right after this happens. Let me hit the plus sign and show you. 1 frame or 2 frames after this happens right here. I'm now 2 frames later. I want to go, and watch how cool this is. I want to go 0 on the particles. I want to go 0 on the direction random spread. So now I have no particles, and the make sure, okay, position is done, 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 and done. So right at the end, there should be no particles. So look at how the explosion happens, and I'm probably going to have to make this thing go a little bit more. Let's just hit Command S to save the file. Okay, now there's one thing I did wrong, which wasn't wrong, I just didn't do it yet. Particles per second, direction random spread, velocity is fine, color is fine. Let me see what I've done wrong. Okay, so this comes through. Let me go minus, 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 minus. And let me go through. Here's the particles going, 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 going. Now they're exploding right there. Boom. And now look at the explosion at 3,000 particles, and they're going fine. Now I think I'm going to move these two right here a little closer to the end so the amount of particles doesn't grow too fast, and the explosion feels really good right there. Okay? And now technically that's when the burst should happen with the lens flare. You remember? And that's also when the beam should go up. Let me hit Command S to save the file. So technically, I'm just about there, and I'm going to add one or two more things so that we can get on with this. I'll add a lightning bolt to this, but I'm going to go turn on the lens flare. I'm not going to have time to do anything for the dot on this movie, or it'll be at least an hour long. And besides, there's kids yelling in my backyard, and you can probably hear them. So I'm going to compress the beam, the lens flare, and let's compress the cannon and the particles. And then I don't care how many times you have to watch this. One more Command S to save the file, but let's now ram this to at least this much. So let me hit the N key, Command S to save the file. Let's open up the time controls here just so you can see I'm ramming at full and at 1 on the skipping. I'm hitting the 0 button, and now we should be able to ram this. You can see the ram is taking place here, and we have a good effect happening with everything. Look at how the boom, and now here's the real time. Okay, that was good. I'm writing Brian just a teensy weensy bit too fast, meaning I should move everything open together, but that's not bad. It's probably good for the amount of time. Let me make this slightly bigger so you're not looking at such a puny little thing. Let's go like this. Let me move this over, and now I'll ram this so you can see it. And here is the Brian. As you can see, I think it's going very well. Now I have to set audio keyframes for the explosions, and I have to set the lightning bolt. Now I want the lightning bolt to actually work with me at the end. Now remember, the particles shouldn't be there. The particles should be, actually, let me move this down. And let me go to fit up to 100%. And now let's move the particles one above the write-on layer. Now this makes more sense. As you can see, again, this is like a pain in the butt, but let's go like this. As I move this down and I click the E key so I can see where my little keyframes are, and the minus key so I can see where everything is, here is where you can tell that it works really well right there, and now the particles are underneath where they should be. Now I'm going to turn, at this point, since everything is just about done writing, right as he's done, I'm going to start a lightning bolt right at this point. Now I need a new solid, so I told you hit the home key, hit Command Y, and let's call it lightning. And I think I just spelled it really bad. So L-I-U-G-H-T, a new way to spell lightning. Now lightning is easy, and lightning shouldn't take me too long to show you. But I need these keyframes again, and I'm going to double check, triple check, quadruple check that you know how to copy them. So I'm going to go right down to the beginning, and I'm going to hit the keyframe navigator to take me right to the beginning. I'm going to marquee only those position keyframes and hit Command C. Now right after this is just about done, I want to go get lightning. So let's go up here, click on that solid, go to Effect, Generate Lightning, and lightning comes in like this. It's still doing it there. Lightning comes in with, again, a start point and an end point. So it's not so hard. But let me hit the E key, and let's open up this, and I'm going to go start point and end point. Now watch how interesting I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the start point, and I'm going to take the end point, and I'm going to click both of them to the same keyframes. So 1, 2. Now, if I move one to offset the other, I will then, right now I have only a dot for lightning. See, there's no lightning except for just the arms of the lightning. But if I offset one, the more I offset the lightning, the wider the lightning is apart. Okay, so let me move this in, and now we can see what's happening with the word Brian. And again, you can't see the lightning, so what does the mode of the lightning have to go to? I think you can guess. It has to go to the add mode. Now, the lightning is blue, so maybe in this case, the lightning would be better served to be a very light blue or a yellow. Let's go to a yellow lightning for whatever reason. Okay, whoa. Let's go to a yellow-orange lightning. Okay. Now, and let's go from a white to a yellow here. And now I should have white and yellow lightning if it's even working. Okay. The lightning is too thick. Again, I have to find where the, I see speed, I see branch segments, I see my start point, end point, segments, amplitude, detail, branching. There's going to be a width of the lightning at 10. How about I go to a width of the lightning at 5 and make it really thin? And just, you can play with these. You can find them. The most important thing was I pasted the same keyframes and I just offset them. And now I have lightning as it's shooting through this 5 I can see is not hardly showing up at all. So let's go to like 8 on the lightning so it shows up, and I hate this orange I chose. Let's go to an interesting magenta on the color of the lightning, and the inside color, let's go to a deeper purple. Maybe I want both. So now, oh, this is the outside. You know what? I think I just did the reverse. Let me cancel this. Oh, let's go to a bright one on the inside and a darker one for the outside. There, Mr. Sorio, you're not thinking very well. And now I should have purple lightning. Now I don't know why I'm not having purple lightning. Okay. What did I do? I don't know, but I'll play with it in a little while. It should be purple. I don't know why it's not purple. Maybe because I have it on half. No, it's on full. Inside color. Let me go to, maybe it needs to be very deep in tone and rich in tone. And then the outside color needs to be very dark here, and let's say okay. Well, it's not changing color and I have to find out why. But that's okay. Actually, I do see the purple now. Well, that's very pretty. And I don't mind that. That's not bad. Now, so I'll ram the rest of this. Let's see when the lightning is finished. Let's go up here and let's open this up, and then I'm going to hit the 0 button, and then you can see the lightning at the end. Here comes the lightning. And I don't know if you saw it, but the lightning dot was showing in the beginning. I don't want the lightning dot to show until the actual lightning takes place. See it right there? So I'm going to move the timeline right to the beginning here. I'm going to click the lightning layer, and to move the in point to right here from where it was, let me show you where it was. It's right there. I'm going to go Option in bracket, and now there's no dot there until the lightning, look, see how there's no dot there if I move this down, until the lightning actually happens. Okay, now maybe the lightning should happen right as the explosion is happening, not exactly where I had it. So I'm going to grab both of these keyframes, move them down. Now it makes much more sense to me if I go like this to have the lightning after the explosion happens, which you can tell that's exactly where I have it. So let me Command S to save. Let me go like this. Now all I have to do is add audio to sync up exactly, and you guys know how to add audio, and I've placed audio in as an explosion for the particles. Now I'll go back to where the actual movie is. Watch how this thing works. As soon as this thing comes through, I'll stop the file. Boom is where it should happen, and there's your lightning coming through, and now that's basically all I want you to do. One last time, let's go show the actual, let me go to QuickTime, and let's go to Open Recent, and here is my laser example. And in here you can hear, I'll be quiet while it's playing. Now at the end you should hear an explosion, and I have an explosion at the beginning. Okay, now you can make the explosion anything you want to. One more time. At the end there should be an explosion. Now all you got to do is bring an audio file into here. You just got to find where the explosion happens in here, and when the light gets really bright, then right there, then set a keyframe, and let me close off lightning. Set a marker right on the lens flare layer. So click the lens flare layer, Option, asterisk, and set a marker for your explosions. Let me go explode. And right there, let's hit the enter key, and now I would set an audio explode to line up exactly where that is, and you can keep on going. Now, if I wanted to do this for the dot, I would repeat everything I did for the dot. And if I wanted to do each individual character by themselves, then it would be 4 layers for one character, 4 layers for another character, 4 layers for a third character, and so on and so on and so on. 4 layers being the write-on, the particles, the beam, and the lens flare. You got it? Command S to save. Good luck with this, and I look forward to the next one.